This is The Justice We Imagine, a special series from Social Justice Origin Stories. This series focuses on parts of longer conversations with storytellers where I ask three essential questions. When is true social justice possible? What shapes our approach to the work? And why does understanding and sharing our social justice origin stories matter? As you listen to their responses, reflect on what your answers might be. True social justice is possible when?
Now. If we want it to be.
Everybody's at the table. When we give in to moments of freedom, we center on our collective good. When we are open to meaningful feedback, so feedback that is coming from a place of growth and love. When we recognize our interconnectedness, right? I think one of the beautiful things of the union experience and being with my dad is like recognizing that we are better when we are all collectively working together and we know that we are all connected in this way. And so social justice happens when we don't see each other as others. We can then move forward in a stronger way, in a more, there's more of us. When I'm not seeing you as you're over there and I'm over here, but we are all moving towards progress.
True social justice is possible when all of us are willing to open our shame box and look inside.
When we are aware of the deep interconnections that we have with one another, and when we are truly bought into the fact that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and can see that our liberation is bound up with one another.
When we transform ourselves and commit ourselves to the principles of social justice to eradicate all forms of oppression.
True social justice is possible when we are all able to see power as abundant and not scarce.
True social justice is possible when the people demand their humanity to be recognized, when their voice is actually heard, policies and processes are put in place, or the people won't go back to work, or the people won't make things happen, or the people are saying it costs too much to stay in this same spot, sick and tired of being sick and tired of reality, right? So that movement will affirm the ills of that social issue, but yet also the healing that can take place from the people. Too many times people have, in especially marginalized situations, just said they feel like, almost as if the people feel like they work for the government. I can't say that. No, the government works for us. If it's about a government, local or national, whatever. But yeah, when people's voice is activated and actually heard, not politicized, and now we're gonna sign this into a bill with all these other things, and yours is just a one page in that spot. No, we're gonna demand this to be right, and we don't have to fight for stuff that we don't have to fight for water. I gotta fight for water, like things that should be so common and natural in that space. Yeah.
My approach to social justice is shaped by
My community.
My Blackness, my queerness, my womanhood.
A belief that there is another way.
By centering love and self-agency.
Connectedness, relationality, and creativity, and the ways that our relationships with one another and the connections that we have can be generative, synergistic starting points for creative solutions to changing our organizations.
A Black liberation ideology that is also influenced by revolutionary nationalism and Black feminism.
My approach to social justice is shaped by my best friend in my head, Bell Hooks, rest in peace. Her theories about love and teaching and growing. If you've never read Teaching to Transgress or All About Love, it is truly like, how do you create a social justice practice based on love? And then how do you educate folks so that they can be awakened themselves, right?
My approach to social justice is shaped by my family lineage, my formal education, my informal education, what I've learned from classrooms, books, people and mistakes.
My approach to social justice is shaped by my wounds and my pain of seeing our people living in nightmares more than the dreams that they could really manifest and see themselves.
Understanding and sharing our social justice origin stories is important because
Because our stories are who we are and how we see ourselves.
Because, at least in our current political context, in mid to late summer 2024, social justice and DEI is personified in villainized, is the word I'm going to use, in a certain way. And our stories need to be shared to humanize our experiences, those of us who do the work for the greater good, to make something better.
yeah,
We are real people interested in the collective good of folks. Sharing our social justice stories are important because a lot of folks are navigating this space without mentorship, without narratives, without support, and are often, as we talked about, the only person in the organization who's like working to do this work, and to allow folks to know that they're, one, not alone, two, other people have navigated the space, and that there is a collective and community that exists. And sharing our social justice stories are important because sharing story is important. It is both our legacy, right? So this oral tradition of sharing story, sharing lived experience is important in telling our perspective of existence, right? So we can think about enslaved folks who taught themselves to read so that they could read the Bible. We can think about early African-American authors writing stories about what it was like to live in Harlem in the 1920s. Maureen Hansberry, who wrote about, you know, what it was like to live in Chicago in the 50s and 60s and to try to buy a house. To share like the real lived experience of people who are doing this work, and sharing those narratives is a part of a greater ancestry, and important that all of those folks before us who shared their stories, they wanted to share that we existed, that the narratives that were said about them were not necessarily true and more nuanced than that. And that generations from now, people will be like, oh, so those are the folks who were doing this. This is why this policy exists. This is why, oh, we have 1 year maternity leave. I don't know. Make happen. Then they're like, oh, okay, this was, I don't know what they're going to call our era, like historical era, but whatever. If we're the post-civil rights part 2, whatever our era's nickname will be, I don't know. That we were the people here, and that this is the truth, like, of our experience.
There's implicit value in our lived experiences, and there's a lot of wisdom that can be gained from sharing our stories with one another. There's something powerful, I think, that comes from sharing your own story and reflecting on all the things that have brought you to where you are now.
Sharing our social justice origin stories is important because we have to be reminded that there are many paths to leading in the work, and those who are listening need many models of how to show up, and those who are sharing need opportunities to reflect and be centered in the gratitude for that origin story and for that path.
Nobody's going to tell our stories but us. Like, our stories need to be heard, need to be expressed, need to be taught, need to be broken down. Otherwise, when you begin to diminish stories, when people start throwing books away and burning books, and we can't read these stories, and we can't teach this, and did that history even exist? This is a folk tale. Women in America used to do what? Man, that's a lie. That's just a folk tale. Native Americans, what? Man, no, that's a lie. So all of a sudden, everything's blended, and those who have suffered, fought, hurt, died to make that a reality, and we're living in that space, they're no longer around. They're no longer counted in that space. They're important, and our stories continuously be told in different ways, different angles, in such a way where it may hurt other people, but yet it will create a way in which they'll know we've been here and they know this is not the route to go. At least you've been accountable, because you shouldn't turn left right here. It's so significant that our voice is worth hearing.
It allows us to know that we are not alone and to activate people to know there is no single story.
Understanding and sharing our social justice origin stories is important because you matter. Your stories matter. You are of value, no matter who tells you you're not. Your stories are powerful. Your stories make you who you are. And your stories can make change. I feel so often, I do it myself. Oh my gosh, I burden shift. I burden shift onto systems. Systems are the problem. Systems are the ultimate evil. I burden shift onto systems. All systems are a conglomerate of people. It's obviously methodology and pedagogy and theory and all of these zeitgeist, horrible culture and climate things that exist beyond humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But systems are just people. They're made up of people. And I think the more that we can talk about our stories and share our stories and recognize the value that we all have inherently in who we are, and treat diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, belonging, all of these billion words, whatever you want to call it, to treat that as a gift and not an insult, to be called in when you are doing harm, to treat that as a gift and not an insult. I think the moment that we can do that and make that become part of our stories, I think we truly can change the world. And I think we truly can start to shift. And that's all storytelling. That's all the ways in which we center love and kindness and tell people who we are and share about who we are and come together in community. And storytelling is at the center of that. It is so powerful. And I think we can move mountains. We can move systems because it's just people. So just one person at a time. Start with your neighbor.
People need to know.
That's real.
Period.
That's real. People need to know.
People need
That's
to know.
real.
You know what we've been through.
What justice do you imagine for yourself, for your community, for your organization, for the broader world? What justice do you imagine? What shapes how you approach working towards realizing that justice? And what stories come up for you that you can share with others to build community around that work? The justice we imagine cannot be realized alone. We need everybody. And that's a core message of social justice origin stories. There's room enough for all of us in this work. And we need as many of us out here as possible doing what makes us come alive, doing the work that we are able to do in order to bring about a more just world. Thank you for listening. More to come. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and subscribe to Social Justice Origin Stories wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch video episodes on YouTube at Social Justice Origin Stories, and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe there as well. Video episodes are also available on the project website, socialjusticeoriginstories.com. I'd love to hear about how you're engaging with the stories. Share your thoughts at socialjusticeoriginstories.com/contact or by emailing stories@socialjusticeoriginstories.com. To support the work of Social Justice Origin Stories, consider becoming a monthly patron. Your contributions will help keep this research going and support its mission. Visit patreon.com/socialjusticeoriginstories to learn more and to make a contribution. Again, that's patreon.com/socialjusticeoriginstories. You can start or stop anytime. Social Justice Origin Stories is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Rolando Tompkins Jones. Many thanks to many storytellers who have contributed to this project. And thank you for joining me this week. Take care.